Welcome back to Smart Money with me, Ibrahim, Sani. The conversation that we want to have right now is on the RHB merger. Joining me is Rizal Zulkapli, Astro AWANI editor, and Lukman Haris, Astro AWANI business correspondent. Hi guys, what are your first thoughts on this merger? Do you think that, first of all, it will go through?
Well, I think, Ibrahim, it will go through. It has been in the pipeline for the longest time. And we got somewhat of a confirmation yesterday when they requested for suspension of their securities for today. And I think it's just a matter of time before they announce. I'm just wondering what's taking them so long.
On a more important note, I think we have to understand where this merger or this acquisition will go forth and what form it will take and what shape will it take and how and what will it mean to the consumers, to the employees and to the banking sector in Malaysia. Because I think it's important for us to gauge where this is taking RHB, Arab Malaysia and the new entity forward and what kind of strategy they have to move forward with.
Well, the first question that comes to mind is on the niche areas that these two banks have, or in this method don't have. What do you think of the possibilities of a niche area that they can create following this merger?
Let me go first. I think Arab Malaysia has a very good auto financing portfolio. That is what they have right now. And we know that Arab Malaysia is reducing that portfolio to about half of what they have right now. But I think importantly, moving forward, what kind of big projects or big financing projects are they looking forward to with the merger if it is to go forth with the merger? In terms of future areas that they can look at, I'm just suggesting maybe they can look at property, they can look at big real estate projects, and also looking at fintech and how they will be able to serve their consumers and employees better moving forward. Lukman?
Well, I actually agree with Rizal in the sense that AMMB is actually big on auto loans and RHB is also big in investment banking. I think going forward, they just have to put more focus on consumer banking. We've seen the big boys, AMMB mainly, increasing even more their focus towards consumer banking. I think that's where the money and the profit is going to be going forward.
But on the other hand, do you want to be the next AMMB or do you want to be the next Maybank or the next public bank? Because I think if you were trying to replicate what these three banks are doing, then I think you are maybe just risking it a bit, because I think
this is where I want to
really
chime in, because I do think that, Rizal, you're right, because these three banks, Maybank, AMMB and Public Bank, they, even with their size, they are niches in their own categories. But where does these two banks, in terms of RHB and AMMBank, merge? They can carve out that particular strategy, because even for Hong Leong, for instance, with their MARC program, they are targeting Gen X, Gen Y. Do you think that they have that kind of hip, this AMMBank / RHB, might be able to target new consumers?
I kind of agree with what you guys just said, but it's not about emulating the big boys. It's about just going where the money is, simply, and the money is largely in consumer banking. One could argue that you can focus on other areas that are underserved, but I think consumer banking is where the money is.
I think consumer banking is a very broad area, Lokman. I think you have to focus, what consumer banking are you looking at? Are you looking at online heavy transaction consumer banking, targeting at maybe the young professional, or are you looking at maybe trying to get more people to use online banking? So I think it has to be better crafted moving forward, and it cannot just be a generic consumer banking, because consumer banking is such a broad and vast area.
Amongst others, I think they should capitalize on the loan growth that has been spiking recently. But that's the thing, guys. This is the problem. I don't see any synergy if this merger is going to go through, because I mean,
well, let's talk about synergies, right? Because the synergy is right here. The stakeholders, or the shareholders for that matter, EPF does have a stake, 40% I think in RHB, about 10% or 9% in AMMBank. And we now know that the existing shareholders, some of the existing shareholders, have been wanting to exit this particular entities for some time now. But at the end of the day, these two banks were created out of tycoons, Tan Sri Rashid Hussain for RHB and Tan Sri Azman Hashim for AMMBank. Do you think that Tan Sri Azman Hashim, for instance, want to see, just to exit this company, or he really wants to see synergy in the company going forward, even if he takes out his stake from this bank?
Well, I think there's two parts of the question. Well, first is, but I would like to focus on the synergy. I think he would like to see synergy going forward. There are some positive signs that we've seen. Kenanga, for example, projects that if this merger is going to happen, these two banks, or whatever they're going to be called, will have a slight edge in terms of profitability, pushing it to third place. They're going to have a lower gross impact loans ratio than Maybank and CIMB. They're going to have a better cost to income ratio. They're going to also have a better credit cost going forward. So I think synergy is very important. I think those tycoons do really have synergy in their minds for these two major entities going forward.
And I think more importantly, looking at the bigger picture, which is the banking sector in Malaysia. So I think I want to ask a question. If you merge these two banks, what would it mean to the banking sector in Malaysia? Would it make the banking sector safer, better, resilient in the face of maybe a more volatile economy moving forward? So I think when we look at the merger or the acquisition of these banks in Malaysia, let's look at the big picture and see how that will make the economy stronger and how that will serve consumers better. So I think I want to see more in that direction and more vision.
You're in luck because despite the arguments that we have put forward, they are still consumer-driven banks. After all, AMMBank, you pointed out just now that they do have a strong auto financing capabilities. RHB has a very strong consumer banking presence, particularly in the housing loan sector. They do have the ability to merge themselves in the consumer banking space. And in that sense and in that regard, they can actually push forward two things: the retail banking business as well as the business banking business. And with this in mind, do you think that it's going to be a pari passu merger, a 50-50 thing, like a joint hand in matrimony, or do you think that it's going to be one bank eating the other bank?
But that's the question, right? I'm asking the question myself. I think it's going to be the former. I think it's going to be a merger, a 50-50 merger, instead of the acquisition of one bank of another, because I think that way they can actually go for an optimal structure, going forward. And in terms of the discussions they're going to have, I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah, I agree with Lokman. I think in terms of discussion, I think in terms of setting the terms and conditions, I think both banks would want to have equal footing in that discussion, having a 50-50 moving forward. I think that will give both banks the fair say in how they want their employees to be treated after the merger and how they want to be their segments treated after the merger. So I think both banks would have a better footing moving forward if they look at a 50-50 platform or footing.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining me this evening. It's great having a chat with you. I've been having a chat with Rizal Zulkapli, the Astro AWANI editor, and Lokman Haris, our correspondent in Business Desk. And we've come to the end of the show. Let me know what you think about this episode. Send us your feedback on all our social media platforms and follow us on the Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at 501 AWANI. Remember to download our app on the Google Play and the Apple App Store. I'm Ibrahim, Sani. Thank you and good night.